here, radio to the sun, Perth. What can you say about it?
It's perfect, isn't it? It is the biggest weekend. I mean, we have got everything. You can't guarantee the weather, but actually, I think it would have been just as much fun if the weather had been rubbish. And I know that some of the other events are not having quite as good a weather forecast as we have had. So I think it is going to be a fabulous day, definitely.
So is that something you managed to kind of pull out the hat yourself, the weather?
I wouldn't claim to have all the influence that could produce that, but there are some people the sun shines on. There are some people that God smiles upon, and I think I must be one of them.
So you've had the opportunity to experience Perth. First up on the stage, big weekend. How was it, guys?
Tremendous, really good fun. Yeah, really nice. The audience were, they'd only just got in, to be fair, but I think they really loved it, and the fact that we played a couple of new songs in the set as well, that was really good. So it was a win.
See, when you were in Bishop Briggs High School earlier on, were you ever thinking when you were starting to write that you would be playing venues like this, Tina Park and things?
Totally no, never. I mean, I've always been a bit of a dreamer, and I always kind of fantasise about what will happen, but I'm kind of very organised that I've always got a backup plan. So I was about to go to university, and I never really expected this, but I do remember being at Tea in the Park in 2006 with my mates in a tent, and I said to my friend, I'll play this one year, and it was actually the very next year I played it, and she actually said to me, do you remember us having that conversation? And I said, yeah, I do. So things like that are quite cool, but I never really believed that I'd be going 10 years and kind of still doing my thing. It's a bit of a dream, but I'm very happy that it's worked out this way.
Okay, so when you left school, moved on to further education, what was the first thought? Was it radio was your first thought at that time?
Oh, I'd been thinking about radio already. I was about 15, I think, when I suddenly just thought, that sounds like great fun, but I couldn't see a way of doing it. Because there was no commercial radio at that time in this country. The only way of doing it was the BBC, or maybe, British Forces Radio, or maybe Luxembourg or something like that. But, there was very few opportunities and lots of people interested. So there was no way in, so I just put it on the back burner and wasn't able to think about it until into the 70s.
Okay, and in the 70s, started off hospital radio to start, was it, if I'm right?
Yeah, I thought I'd have a go at hospital radio, because I thought if I don't try this, then I'll never know. Because you can think you can do something, and until you actually do it, then that's the test, isn't it? So I thought, I'll do this, and if it works out, then I'll just see what happens. So I did hospital radio, and I really enjoyed it, and they seemed to quite like what I was doing. And then I heard about a job at the BBC, and I went for it thinking there was no chance. And sure enough, I just popped up there for a short-term contract, and I've been kicking around there ever since.
What was it like to play on the main stage at Tea in the Park and then go back to the campus site and stay with your mates?
Great, just normal to me. Like that's what I've always been. I'm pretty much the same person I've always been. I've just got this crazy life, but I've got the same friends that I had at school, so they've been with me all the steps of the way, and they've always been there for me. So for me it was just normal to go and do that and then go back and hang out with them, and that was probably the best bit for me at the end of the day when I got to go back to my mates.
And the band's been formed since I think 74 or
yeah, there's been a squeeze since then.
Teenage years for yourselves. At that time, what would you say were your influences on your music?
One of the things about Squeeze at that point is that we were all coming from slightly different directions, but we met happily in the middle. So, I mean, I was a very big Jimi Hendrix fan, Beatles, Tyrannosaurus Rex, and then Chris.
Well, I think I had all sorts of things going on. I was a bit confused at the time. I had Gilbert O'Sullivan on one hand and the Allman Brothers on the other, so I was well confused. I still am.
Who would you say was the biggest influence on yourself coming into the music business?
Music-wise, it was Travis. I actually saw them headline at Tea in the Park when I was about 13, and I just absolutely loved it. Standing like knee deep in mud and just thinking this is mental, but I love this and I want to play the guitar like Fran Healy plays the guitar. And after that I kind of started teaching myself, and that's where it all began really. So they're definitely my biggest influence at the start.
And you've got Popmaster coming along obviously on a daily basis these days. How does that come about?
Well, it was, again, not something we thought would have any legs at all, would last forever. We just thought this is a nice quiz. We need a quiz. We thought we need an extra element. So we sat down and had a nice lunch. It was me and Phil Swern, who was the question compiler, and Colin Martin was my producer at the time. And we just sat down at a nice lunch and we came up with this idea for a quiz. And then the following day, we said, now that quiz idea. And I said, yes. Did anybody write it down? He said, no. Can anybody remember what we said? No. So I said, well, we better have another lunch then. So we had another lunch and sat down, the three of us again, and this time we took a pen and a bit of paper and we wrote down the whole idea of Popmaster. And it's been more or less a couple of tweaks, exactly the same since that was 20 years ago, more than 20 years ago. So again, we didn't think it was going to last, but the public decide. We don't decide, nobody decides, producers don't decide, the public decide what they like, what they want. And if the time comes and they don't want it anymore, we'll stop doing it. But we keep an eye on it and make sure they're still keen, and they're keener than ever, it seems.
Last question, Ken, about Popmaster. Why is it that sometimes when it's people that deputise you, questions seem a bit easier?
I don't think they are. They're made. The questions are written by the same people. I think sometimes there can be a tendency for people who are sitting in for me to go easier on the contestants. If anything happens, that's what happens. Or they give them longer time to answer or something. I treat it, I think it's a serious quiz. My idea is it should be entertaining, but it should be treated as a serious quiz. And if you can't get the answer right or almost right, then you're wrong. And I think people appreciate, they want something that people have earned. They've earned their prize, they're not being given away a prize. And sometimes, if there is a difference, that's the only difference. It's just a difference of approach by the presenter. But I'm very protective of Popmaster. If I think somebody's not doing it right, I'm straight in this. No, mustn't do that. Yeah.
Tell them the story, whether it's true or not, I don't know, about someone acquiring 50 pence from their mother's purse to put an advert in a shop window. Is that something that's maybe true?
It is. Well, I can't remember whether I nicked it or was given it, but it was true that the advert went in the shop window, yes.
And that's how you guys came
That's how
about?
we met.
You had a lot of challenges throughout your life. One of the biggest ones for you might have been back at school, because your dad was a teacher at the school you were at. Is that one of your biggest challenges?
Well, I was so used to it because he was there before me, but I was always called Mr. Sandé's daughter. That was just my name from like 1st to 6th year. But yeah, one year he did actually teach me, and I wasn't very good at his subject, so that was a challenging year, yeah.
And did you have to call him Dad?
But yeah, actually I had to call him, Mr. Sandé.
Okay.
yeah.
So then you've got your own recording studio. How much of an advantage is that for not just producing yourself, but getting to hear other things that are happening in the music industry?
For me, having a studio, it's about being able to do your own thing, to be independent. Means of production is always important, I think. There's also, for me, it's about, if there's younger talent about